Welcome back, coming to you from MotorX. We're excited to showcase this beautiful 65 Mustang with a small block Ford and our TVS 2650 supercharger. Ross, it's magnificent to be at MotorX. This car I've been very excited to see, and it was unveiled yesterday. You must be excited.
Really excited, Heath. It's been a lot of work, 6 months actually, of really hard work, plus 12-hour days to get here.
I think probably more than 12 hours. I think the intensity of where this car was 6 months ago, and we can share some images, like it's been an incredible effort to take it from blown apart to built, painted and on display.
Absolutely, and it was a lot of project management to get there. We were carting the car all around Victoria as a shell to get different trades such as Adam from MPW to fabricate a lot of the intakes and a lot of components. We had the shell then transported to True Track to get all the running gear and driveline installed, and then back to Automotive Creations where they were painting bits and then sending them back. It was pretty time consuming and pretty crazy because it was not your most conventional build in the way that we approached it, but we had to do that to get it here on time.
Oh, it's a testament to you and the whole team, because normally cars of this caliber are years in the build. So let's go back to the start when you first got the motivation to build a Mustang of this quality.
Yeah, I bought this car in 2015 and it was already right-hand drive converted. It was a Shelby clone and it looked, from all intents and purposes, it looked like a really good, clean street car. And I drove it and did lots of little bits to it myself over the years. But then in 2022, I thought it's time I want to sort of take this build up a notch. I'd been inspired by a lot of cars at MotorX and the Australian show scene, as well as people like Ring Brothers. There were a number of cars that they had produced over the years, such as Producer, but for me, one that I just fell in love with was Splitter. Yes. So it looks very similar to this. We got a lot of inspiration from that car, but to get it to their level of build, we had to sort of tear it all down and start again, an all too familiar story with many builders. And we started with designing the car with Aidan from ADI. He and I spent about 2 months going through all various colour options, wheel options, trim options, stripe options to get to this. It sort of looks like we just chose a standard Shelby approach, but that was maybe after about 50 variations of different stripe and colour options.
And Aidan does the most incredible design work, the renders that he can produce, so car builders and owners can really nail in like stripes, little details to get the final look and stance looking spot on.
Exactly, and what we did was, once Aidan and I finished, I printed all the pics out and we use them effectively as like architectural blueprints for the car.
Yep.
When builders or trades would ask me, how do you want to do this? I'd say, well, do we have it in the renderings? Is it there? And if they're like, yep, look, that's what you follow.
Yeah.
We don't need to discuss it or question. And there's nothing wrong with people adding their creative input. The problem sometimes you get is that a car can start out with a vision and then at the end you can really defer from that vision because people put their creative spin on it.
What's exciting with Mike and Jim Ring actually being at MotorX to see the car, but their model that's most iconic has got to be the Mustang. Like the first car that stood out for me, you mentioned the Producer, that orange and black car had RB3C Forgeline wheels that they actually designed with Forgeline. And that was at SEMA, I think in 2012 or 2013, so over 10 years ago. But then you go through and they've just done so many high-level Mustangs, and now they've got these incredible ancillary items that, you've got a lot on this car that really just set it off.
It made it really easy for me as an amateur car owner to really dress up the car. Instead of just using the standard Mustang parts or your Shelby enhanced parts from the 60s, I was able to use or choose from the Ring Brothers website like a shopping list, right? And the parts that I purchased included the front indicators, that front bar is all carbon. There's a front blade, the bonnet pins, the mirrors, inner and outer door handles, the rear wing, tail lights. There's a whole bunch of Ring Brothers.
It's the jewellery that really sets the car off.
Correct.
So the engine's well known. You obviously saw the video that we did with Dandy. Frank put the engine together for us, and it's got our TVS 2650 supercharger. makes great numbers on the engine dyno, and to have it in this car, I couldn't be more thrilled.
When I saw that engine and I knew that we were building the car, I rang Lou and Frank and I just said, please, 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 I need that engine in my car. I wanted something really special, and when I saw the way that engine performed, the sound, I just thought that's a perfect match to what my vision is for this car. I wanted something aggressive and powerful, but then also without going over the top. I needed a platform that would fit in this car, and I don't have the luxury of putting a Godzilla in here because it's a small car.
Well, being a small block Ford-based engine, it's still got that association with Mustang. Like that's the engine family that the car was meant for.
Correct. So I guess from an engineering point of view, we just dropped it in, same mounts, and so everything just worked. But what is really interesting is just the reaction from people when we tell them the horsepower output with just a simple add-on of the supercharger. It just turns it from like sort of, I won't say zero to hero, but mild to wild, just with that application. It's just unbelievable.
And the streetability is what makes the superchargers fantastic. Like there's some incredible big twin turbo cars here and they make huge numbers, but whether you can actually drive them on the weekend and enjoy them as a streetable car, that's where the superchargers I think come into their own. Working through that process of getting it all together over the last 6 months, Automotive Creations have done paint, body, final assembly. Those guys have really excelled.
Unbelievable. We took the car to them in October. It arrived on the back of a truck, on a dolly, just full of rust, full of bog, it's just in a really bad state. They sandblasted it, and then from the 10th of November to now, this is what they've been able to produce. And it wasn't just a replacement of panels, because we actually replaced every panel on the car, bar the roof. So this isn't just a tidy up, this was a full ground up rebuild of the shell and the body. There's also a lot of custom work. So that bonnet was meant to be carbon fibre Ring Brothers bonnet, but it wouldn't clear the 2650.
Sure.
So we had to manufacture one from scratch out of metal.
Wow.
So that's a handmade metal bonnet, designed with inspiration from the Ring Brothers bonnet, because we love the look and the profile of it, but that's actually made out of metal. I wanted something that, again, with the whole car, I sort of wanted something where you sort of got to look twice. With this scoop, it's very similar to just the standard Shelby scoop, but it's obviously wider and longer, and it's functional because it fits your supercharger in there. But also, what's a really cool element is that when you're looking straight on into the car, you can actually see the pulley under that scoop, and it's just a really menacing but awesome look. Show that the car's actually got the grunt to back up some of the aggressive looks about it.
So let's move to the interior, which I love the finish, the colour choice looks just spot on. So interior would have been a real juggle with all the bodywork happening at the same time.
The car had previously had a light cream and red interior. Some of the folks involved in the build had nicknamed it the speedboat behind my back. So once I heard that that's what the name they'd given it, I very quickly thought, well, we've got to change this. So I worked with Manny at the trim shop, and he's done an amazing job. He had to do a lot of this remotely because we didn't have the time. So he was able to do the headliner and carpets while we were assembling all the running gear and the suspension. All the seats and stuff we had to do remotely. But we took a bit of a gamble on the brown. And when I told a lot of people doing brown interior, I got funny looks. However, it's come up exceptionally well.
No, it looks sophisticated. It's got that deep, it's almost like a chocolate sort of tobacco colour.
Correct.
So it looks
That's
exclusive.
exactly what we were going for.
And that final push to be here at the show, Adam and the team at MPW really pulled out all the stops.
Oh, 100%. They were working really long days like everybody else, but they turned around a lot of the custom fabrication work in 5 days. So that included the intake, custom headers, transmission mounts, and a bunch of other stuff, oil catch cans. What they also did was they 3D scanned the body and mainly the engine bay. So if we needed anything post the car leaving there, we could just ask for something. They could work out from the scans where to place a certain item, fabricate it for us, and then ship it to us. And that's what we did with a lot of those tanks, and the radiator were all made by Adam, but they were all made after the car had long gone from his workshop.
A special touch that I've noticed is the JR GT350. What are the initials for?
The initials actually are my youngest daughter's initials,
Beautiful.
Juliet Rose, and it was just an evolution. I had previously, by fluke, just got a personalised number plate with my eldest daughter's initials on another car, and then when I bought this, my youngest said, well, Dad, I think it's time to put my initials on this car on the number plate. And then when we were designing it with Aiden, he noticed that and he said, hey, why don't we rename the car? And
Yep.
that's how it evolved.
Ross, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk about the car, understand the journey. It looks incredible. Can't wait to get it out and go for a drive with you.
Same here.
Check out more videos on Harrop TV. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.